Welcome back to The Painted Peach. If you like what you see today, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you never miss a thing. Today I am in Rustic Wednesday, but on Saturday, and it's hosted by Shabby Meeks Bling and Repurpose My Way. Today I'm using a printable along with this Wi-Fi sign from Hobby Lobby that I got on clearance. And I'm going to start by removing the screws in the back that are holding it in. It does have a glass and this backer, that way you could write on it with an erasable marker and wipe it off on the glass. So I'm removing all of that, and then we're going to work a little bit on our printable. I'm going to use the backer to trace around and get the shape so that we can put our printable directly on this backer. Once I do that, I'm just going to fussy cut around it so that we can have the perfect shape and we don't have to do a whole lot of sanding. Now you'll notice that there are some white spots. I'm going to get some paint out and we're going to fill those in and kind of blend it so that it doesn't look crazy. And we're going to try to match up the colors as good as we can, but since it's not going to be perfect, I am going to go up into the printable with the paint and just make those colors blend together. Now up at the top, of course, it's a little harder to do the skin color exactly, so I'm going to try to make it look like he has a little fur coming over his head, and that way we can blend it a little better. I take a little bit of tan and a dash of pink and then some of that red that we used, and use that color first, and then I go over it with a little bit of white to make it look like there's fur up there. I really wasn't happy with how it looked, but it didn't matter in the end. The frame covered it pretty well. Just making sure that everything's dry, and here I am coming in with the white and trying to make it look like there's fur up there. I should have just left it alone, but of course I have to keep on fiddling until I'm happy. Now I'm just going in with my fingers because fingers are your best tools, right? Now we're going to take some white chalk paint and cover this whole backer. We're going to cover up all those black words so that they don't shine through my printable, and make sure that they're good and covered. It took a few coats and drying in between, but we got them covered up. Now we're just going to take our squeegee and some Mod Podge and squeegee that Mod Podge all over the backer sheet so that we can get our printable stuck on there. I accidentally got into some of that brown paint, but it's okay. Now we're going to add our Santa printable right on top and make sure it's good and stuck down. I had to add a little bit more Mod Podge on the corners and push down really hard for it to stick to this backer. Once we get the printable all stuck down and dried on there good, we're going to work on our frame. So I have a wax melt that I used to make, and I'm going to rub that all over the frame so that when I paint on it in those places, the paint won't adhere or stick to it. And then I'll be able to dry it and then scrape it back to give it that rustic look. So I'm using a red over the top of that wax, and then we're going to make sure that red paint is completely dry before we go to scraping or wiping on it. Once it's dry, I'm going to get my paint scraper out and just go lightly over it, and that paint will come right off and give that nice rustic wood look. I left underneath dark. You could do white underneath. You could do dark underneath and white on top. Whatever works for you. I thought the darker wood with the red on top was good for this Santa printable. I'm going to go ahead and get our Santa printable back in. I had already put the glass in, and I'm sanding off those edges so it fits nice and snug. And then we're going to work a little bit more on our frame. I do apply some heat to get that sticker off the back. It gave me a little bit of trouble, but I got that paint scraper in there and got it right off. Once I got that off, I then took those same little things we took off and added them back to the frame and screwed them back into place to hold our picture in. And then we're going to turn it over and we are going to get out our dark wax. I'm going to use the dark wax all over the edges, the front a little bit, and then on the sides of the frame where there's lighter wood, I want to darken that up. So go all the way around the frame on the outside as well. And then I'll wipe it back with a paper towel just to get that waxy feel off. Once that dries, it does seal your chalk paint as well, so you don't have to worry about that. Now I'm going to get out some greenery and fiddle around until I figure out what I want to put on here. I get out two different types of greenery. One's more of a Christmas greenery and one is more primitive. And then I get out this primitive fabric and make a bow. So right now I'm trying to figure out how I want to lay it out. I put the Christmas greenery on the bottom, the primitive on the top. I'm going through different ribbons to see what I want to do. I do decide I want to put those berries in there and the primitive ribbon, both greeneries, and then I find a rusty bell and another lighter fabric as well. So now I'm just tearing strips of the primitive fabrics, and then we're going to make a cute little bow for our frame. Here I'm trying to decide what kind of bow I want to make, so I'm just fiddling around before I get my bow dabber out, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how small I want my bow and all of that. So what I do decide is I'm going to do a smaller bow so that it's not so big on my frame, and my greenery is going to be the bigger part. So I'm just making my bow by doing the awareness kind of bows on each of the fabrics. So I cut my fabric small, I make the awareness shape, and then I stick it in, and I just keep going with the lighter, the darker, all the way up to the top. And that gives me more of a primitive style bow. So now I'm just using hot glue to put my greenery down and stacking the layers of it until I get up to my bow and my rusty bell. Of course, this is just going inside. If you were to put it outside, I would use a different type of glue, but you know, we're not going to sit this outside unless we're putting it on a porch or something. And it's also cold right now, so I think it would be okay. Here I am gluing my little bow and my bell, and then I decide to get some berries other than these. These are a darker color, and I thought it needed something a little bit dark, so I added these in along with the other red berries that I have. I really love this frame, and I am going to keep this one for myself. I have it displayed in my little breakfast area right now. Here I am adding that last little berry up at the top, and I think this turned out adorable. All right, our second DIY, we're making some cinnamon salt dough button ornaments, and you just need a half a cup of cinnamon, a cup of flour, half a cup of salt, and 3/4 cup of water. You're going to mix your dry ingredients first, so add all of your dry ingredients into a bowl and then mix them up very well before you add in your water. That way you're not doing a whole lot of mixing. Once you get that water in there, everything else is pretty much together. Once you get all those dry ingredients nice and mixed in, you add in your water and mix, and then you're going to get a dough consistency, kind of like clay, and you're going to sprinkle out some cinnamon, and that's going to be kind of like your flour you would use when you're baking. And then I have these little round cutters, they're biscuit cutters. I'm cutting all the way through with that one, and I'm only pushing a little bit with the one that's smaller, and that's making my little button shape. And then I just get a straw and punch out the middle in 4 little places, and that gives the button look. and then I bake it on low for 20 to 30 minutes, or you can leave them out to air dry overnight. And this is how they turn out. And then I just take some twine and I lace it in there as if the button's being sewn on. And you can use these as ornaments, or you can use them like I did. I created a Santa hat and mittens, and I added the buttons on there as if they were, part of the hat. So here's the hat with the button. I created this with a Dollar Tree dust mop and some fabrics, and it was a lot of fun. I really need to make another one. I sold this one, and I kind of was mad at myself for doing that. But here's the mittens with the buttons on there, and I love those as well. They're super easy to make. Here's some little things that I made along with it. A little believe sign, and then I made a little Santa sack as well. All right, here's the final reveal. Here is our Santa frame with the cute little primitive bow and the rustic frame and Santa's handsome face. He turned out super rustic and super adorable. And here are the cinnamon buttons on the hat and the mittens. Today I was in Rustic Wednesday, but on Saturday, make sure you check out the hosts and the playlist, which is in my description. And thank you for watching, and as always, stay peachy.